The foundation of any meaningful transformation, whether it is Dwayne Johnson moving from an overweight teenager to a chiseled icon or a senior rebuilding muscle after 60, begins with nutrition. The human body is an incredibly responsive system, constantly adapting to the energy, nutrients, and signals it receives, and what we choose to eat is not merely fuel but a set of instructions for how our muscles, metabolism, and even hormones function. In Dwayne Johnson's early transformation, understanding macronutrient balance was critical. Proteins, carbohydrates, and fats each play distinct roles in energy supply, muscle repair, and metabolic regulation. Protein serves as the building block for lean muscle tissue, enabling repair and hypertrophy following resistance exercise. Carbohydrates provide the energy required to sustain high-intensity workouts and to replenish glycogen stores in muscle, while healthy fats contribute to hormonal regulation, particularly testosterone and cortisol levels, which profoundly influence muscle growth and fat metabolism. When nutrition is approached strategically, it becomes a tool for transformation rather than merely a source of calories. Johnson's approach emphasized nutrient density over quantity, meaning that every meal was designed to deliver essential vitamins, minerals, and amino acids that supported recovery, muscle synthesis, and sustained energy levels. This principle is universal and applies to any individual looking to rebuild muscle or transform body composition, especially in aging populations where nutrient absorption efficiency may decline. By consuming foods that are rich in essential nutrients and minimizing processed, empty-calorie options, the body is provided with the materials it needs to rebuild tissue, support enzymatic processes, and maintain cellular health. Timing also plays a subtle yet significant role in nutritional strategy. Consuming protein in proximity to exercise, for instance, can enhance muscle protein synthesis by providing amino acids when the body's repair machinery is most active. Similarly, balancing carbohydrate intake around training sessions ensures that glycogen stores are replenished, reducing fatigue and optimizing subsequent performance. This synchronization of energy supply with physiological demand reflects an understanding that the body's metabolism operates not only on quantity but on timing and context. Over time, these small, thoughtful adjustments in nutrition create a cumulative effect, gradually shifting the body from fat storage toward lean muscle accretion and improved metabolic efficiency. Beyond macronutrients and timing, hydration and micronutrients are equally vital. Water is essential for nearly every physiological process, from nutrient transport to joint lubrication and thermoregulation. Electrolytes maintain the electrical gradients necessary for nerve signaling and muscle contraction, while minerals like magnesium, zinc, and calcium support enzymatic reactions and muscle recovery. Vitamins, particularly those involved in energy metabolism and antioxidant defense, help protect cells from oxidative stress that can accompany intense training. Johnson's transformation underscores the scientific truth that optimal nutrition is multifaceted, addressing energy, building blocks, and protective mechanisms simultaneously to allow the body to function at its highest potential. Equally important is the behavioral aspect of nutrition. Transforming body composition is not simply about knowing what to eat but about creating consistent habits that align with one's goals. Johnson's disciplined approach required meticulous planning, meal preparation, and a sustained commitment to making choices that reinforced his training objectives. This habit formation strengthens the connection between intention and action, teaching the body and mind to respond predictably to nutritional inputs. The repeated practice of choosing nutrient-dense foods, combined with structured eating times, creates an environment in which metabolism, muscle repair, and energy systems operate efficiently, demonstrating that nutrition is both a science and a practice of consistent, mindful decision-making. Finally, the power of nutrition lies in its adaptability and personalization. Each body responds differently to various macronutrient ratios, calorie levels, and food types, and careful observation of energy, recovery, and performance allows for fine-tuning that maximizes results. By understanding the role of protein, carbohydrates, fats, hydration, and micronutrients, and by aligning intake with exercise demands, both younger adults like Johnson during his transformation and seniors seeking to rebuild muscle can harness the science of nutrition to accelerate adaptation, promote health, and achieve remarkable physical outcomes over time, reinforcing the idea that food is not merely sustenance but a precise and powerful instrument of change. The next cornerstone of transformation, Whether in Dwayne Johnson's evolution from an overweight young man to a powerhouse with defined abs or in the context of rebuilding strength after 60, is progressive resistance and muscle recruitment. The human body thrives on challenge, and muscles grow, adapt, and strengthen in response to the stress placed upon them. The principle of progressive resistance is grounded in the science of overload. Muscles require incremental stress that exceeds their usual load to trigger growth. Johnson's approach demonstrates this principle in action, carefully layering intensity, volume, and complexity over time to continually stimulate the neuromuscular system. Each exercise, each repetition, is not simply motion but a signal to the body that adaptation is necessary, and the fibers respond by becoming stronger, denser, and more coordinated. Central to effective muscle recruitment is understanding the types of muscle fibers and their specific roles. Fast-twitch fibers, which generate explosive power and rapid contractions, respond well to heavy resistance and high-intensity effort, producing visible hypertrophy when properly stimulated. Slow-twitch fibers, on the other hand, support endurance and postural stability, contracting over longer periods with sustained tension. Johnson's training balanced both fiber types, combining compound movements, isolation exercises, and functional patterns to ensure comprehensive development. This dual approach not only sculpted his physique but enhanced overall functional strength, reinforcing that aesthetic transformation and practical physical capacity are not mutually exclusive but deeply intertwined. The concept of mind-muscle connection is another subtle but essential element of effective muscle recruitment. Muscles do not grow purely through external force, they respond to precise neural activation. By focusing attention on the specific muscle being engaged, controlling the movement, and consciously maintaining tension, the practitioner can maximize fiber recruitment and ensure that the intended muscles bear the majority of the load. Johnson's regimen exemplifies this, emphasizing controlled motion, proper alignment, and deliberate contraction rather than relying solely on momentum or external weight. This principle applies universally, including for older adults seeking to rebuild muscle, because deliberate, focused contractions minimize the risk of joint stress while amplifying the physiological signals that trigger hypertrophy and strength gains. Progressive resistance is also inherently about adaptation over time. As the body grows stronger, previously challenging loads or exercises become insufficient to stimulate further growth. Johnson's routine reflects a structured progression, systematically increasing resistance, repetitions, or complexity to continually challenge the neuromuscular system. This incremental approach ensures that the body remains in a state of productive stress without tipping into injury or overtraining. For seniors, this principle underscores the importance of measured progression, adapting exercises to current ability while gradually increasing challenge, thereby promoting safe and effective muscle rebuilding. Equally important is the integration of compound and functional movements. Exercises that engage multiple joints and muscle groups simultaneously not only stimulate more fibers but also improve coordination, balance, and functional strength. Johnson's regimen relied heavily on compound lifts, movements that mimic real-world demands, reinforce posture, and engage the core alongside the limbs. For older adults, incorporating multi-joint, functional exercises ensures that strength gains translate into everyday capabilities, whether climbing stairs, standing from a chair, or carrying objects, highlighting the relationship between muscular adaptation and practical vitality. Finally, progressive resistance and proper muscle recruitment are inseparable from recovery and adaptation. The stress imposed by resistance training signals the body to adapt, but growth occurs during rest, when protein synthesis, satellite cell activation, and neural refinement take place. Johnson's transformation illustrates the synergy between targeted effort, proper intensity, and adequate recovery, emphasizing that building strength is not about sheer volume alone but about the strategic application of stress and the body's remarkable ability to respond. By embracing these principles, whether for sculpting a legendary physique or rebuilding muscle after 60, individuals harness the biological mechanisms that allow muscles to grow stronger, more efficient, and resilient, demonstrating that focused, progressive, and mindful training is the true engine of physical transformation. Consistency and habit formation are the subtle yet indispensable engines that drive any lasting transformation, whether it be Dwayne Johnson's journey from a struggling, overweight young man to the meticulously sculpted powerhouse known as The Rock, or the process by which a person over 60 rebuilds strength and vitality through focused, scientifically informed movements. The body responds to repeated stimuli over time, and the nervous system, muscles, and metabolism are profoundly influenced not just by isolated actions but by patterns of behavior that become ingrained as habits. In Johnson's case, every day of carefully planned training and disciplined nutrition was not an isolated event, it was part of a deliberate rhythm that conditioned his body to adapt progressively. This consistency allowed the cumulative effects of effort, recovery, and metabolic adaptation to compound, producing results that were sustainable and transformative rather than fleeting or temporary. At the physiological level, repeated practice of structured routines creates what scientists refer to as neuromuscular adaptation. When muscles are consistently engaged through resistance training or targeted movements, the nervous system becomes more efficient at recruiting fibers, coordinating contractions, and maintaining posture under load. Over time, movements that once required intense concentration become smoother and more automatic, and the body can generate greater force with reduced effort. Johnson's daily regimen illustrates this principle vividly. Years of repeated, disciplined training not only increased muscle size and definition but also enhanced the efficiency and synchronization of his muscular and nervous systems, allowing him to perform complex exercises with precision and power. For seniors, consistent, habit-based practice provides a similar benefit, improving balance, strength, and coordination while reducing the risk of falls or injury. Consistency also reinforces metabolic regulation. The body's energy systems, hormonal environment, and digestive processes respond to regular patterns of activity and nutrition. In Johnson's transformation, consistent exercise and carefully timed meals optimized metabolic function, supporting fat loss while preserving and building lean muscle. This same principle applies to older adults who are rebuilding muscle. Repeated practice of targeted movements, along with structured dietary habits, enhances insulin sensitivity, promotes protein synthesis, and stabilizes energy availability, allowing the body to recover more efficiently and grow stronger over time. Habits transform the body's internal environment, aligning physiological processes with long-term health and functional capability. Moreover, habitual practice fosters resilience and psychological reinforcement. By committing to a daily routine, the mind becomes attuned to the process of change itself, learning patience and the value of incremental progress. Johnson's journey highlights the role of mental conditioning alongside physical effort. The repetition of focused work cultivates discipline, reinforces self-efficacy, and strengthens motivation. Each session, no matter how challenging, contributes not only to muscular adaptation but also to a mindset capable of sustaining effort over months and years. For those over 60, building similar habits instills confidence, reinforces consistency in movement, and creates a reliable framework for ongoing improvement, demonstrating that success is rarely a single moment of effort but a tapestry woven from countless small, intentional actions. Another critical aspect of habit formation is accountability and feedback. Repeated practice allows the practitioner to observe changes, track performance, and refine technique. Johnson's meticulous attention to detail in his workouts and nutrition enabled continuous adjustments that maximized effectiveness while minimizing risk. This reflective approach, repeated over time, ensures that each effort contributes meaningfully to long-term goals. For seniors, establishing simple routines with measurable outcomes, such as holding a posture for a few seconds longer or completing additional repetitions, reinforces progress and strengthens adherence, illustrating the importance of structured repetition in achieving sustainable results. Finally, the power of consistency lies in its ability to convert intentional effort into automatic, integrated patterns of behavior. When habits are well established, the actions required to maintain or improve fitness become second nature, reducing cognitive load and making physical transformation more achievable. Johnson's transformation demonstrates the extraordinary results of this principle. Daily commitment, repeated with discipline and attention to detail, reshaped not only his physique but also his physical potential, endurance, and metabolic capacity. Similarly, seniors who integrate consistent, targeted movements into their daily routines can rebuild strength, improve coordination, and enhance vitality over time, illustrating that the greatest transformations are rarely the result of single heroic efforts but of consistent, deliberate, and intelligent practice that compounds into lasting change. Recovery and biological optimization are fundamental pillars of physical transformation, yet they are often overlooked in favor of sheer activity and effort. The body's ability to adapt, grow stronger, and develop resilience is not confined to the hours spent in the gym or performing targeted movements. It unfolds during periods of rest, repair, and carefully managed recovery. In the case of Dwayne Johnson, the transformation from an overweight teenager to a world-class physique was as much about the hours spent recuperating, sleeping, and allowing his body to rebuild, as it was about intense training sessions. Recovery orchestrates the physiological processes that underpin muscle growth, neural adaptation, and metabolic efficiency, making it an essential component of any structured plan for change, whether the goal is sculpting a legendary body or rebuilding strength after 60. Muscle tissue, once stressed by resistance or functional movements, undergoes micro-damage at the cellular level. These micro-tears are not signs of injury but of stimulus, signaling the body to initiate repair mechanisms. Protein synthesis, satellite cell activation, and hormonal regulation occur primarily during rest periods, transforming the stressed fibers into stronger, denser, and more resilient tissue. Without sufficient recovery, these processes are impaired, limiting gains and increasing the risk of overuse injuries. Johnson's routine illustrates a deep understanding of this principle. His intense training was balanced with rest days, sleep schedules, and active recovery techniques that allowed his muscles to rebuild optimally, demonstrating that recovery is not passive but an active, deliberate strategy for growth. Hormonal regulation is a central aspect of recovery. Sleep, for example, influences the secretion of growth hormone, cortisol, and testosterone, all of which play critical roles in muscle repair, fat metabolism, and energy balance. Adequate rest ensures that these hormones fluctuate appropriately, promoting tissue regeneration and reducing catabolic stress that can undermine progress. Furthermore, periods of lower intensity activity, such as mobility work, light cardio, or stretching, support circulation, deliver nutrients to recovering muscles, and facilitate the removal of metabolic byproducts. Johnson's approach combined these elements in a holistic recovery plan, acknowledging that the interplay between rest, circulation, and hormonal balance is as important as the intensity of the workout itself. Equally vital is the concept of neural recovery. The nervous system, particularly in the context of strength training or coordinated movements, requires time to recalibrate and strengthen motor pathways. Muscle adaptation is closely linked to efficient neuromuscular communication, and sustained effort without recovery can lead to fatigue, impaired coordination, and decreased performance. By incorporating rest and active recovery, Johnson ensured that his nervous system could optimize firing patterns, improve recruitment of muscle fibers, and refine coordination, highlighting the critical connection between mental focus, neural function, and physical adaptation. Nutrition also plays a supporting role in recovery, as it supplies the raw materials for repair and adaptation. Consuming protein, antioxidants, and micronutrients during recovery phases enhances tissue regeneration, mitigates inflammation, and replenishes energy stores. Hydration, too, is essential for delivering nutrients and maintaining cellular function during rest. Johnson's meticulous attention to post-training nutrition underscores the scientific principle that recovery is a multifaceted process, reliant not only on sleep and rest but also on supplying the body with the building blocks it needs to rebuild and strengthen. Finally, recovery fosters sustainability and long-term resilience. By strategically integrating rest into his regimen, Johnson avoided burnout, maintained motivation, and created a system in which consistent training could yield continuous results over years rather than months. For older adults, prioritizing recovery is equally crucial. It reduces injury risk, supports joint health, and ensures that the body can respond efficiently to the stress of rebuilding muscle. Understanding that growth occurs during rest reframes the perception of recovery from passive downtime to an active, scientifically grounded strategy, demonstrating that true transformation is a balance between challenge and repair, effort and recuperation, stress and restoration. Mental focus and motivation are often underestimated in physical transformation, yet they serve as the invisible architecture that supports every tangible change in the body. In the journey of Dwayne Johnson from an overweight young man to the globally recognized powerhouse known as The Rock, and in the process of rebuilding strength after 60, it becomes clear that the mind directs the body in ways that are deeply intertwined with biological adaptation. Motivation provides the initial spark to begin a regimen, but mental focus sustains it, guiding attention, reinforcing discipline, and amplifying the effects of both training and recovery. Without this psychological framework, even the most scientifically optimized program of nutrition, resistance, and rest risks underperformance because the body and mind operate as an integrated system. The principle of goal-directed focus illustrates this connection vividly. By clearly visualizing the desired outcome, whether it is defined abs, muscular strength, or functional independence, Johnson cultivated a mental blueprint that guided his daily actions. Each training session, each controlled repetition, was aligned with a larger vision of transformation. This kind of mental clarity is not mere motivation but a form of neural priming. Neuroscientific research indicates that visualizing a movement or a physical goal activates many of the same neural circuits that actual physical execution engages. For Johnson, mental rehearsal reinforced muscle recruitment patterns, enhanced coordination, and strengthened the mind-muscle connection, demonstrating that mental focus can amplify physiological adaptation in a tangible, measurable way. Motivation also plays a critical role in adherence and consistency. Physical transformation does not occur in isolated moments of effort, it is the product of sustained, repeated action over weeks, months, and years. The mind's ability to maintain focus on long-term goals allows the body to accumulate the incremental gains that compound into significant change. For seniors rebuilding muscle, this psychological principle is equally powerful. Mental engagement with each repetition, each controlled movement, fosters a sense of purpose and reinforces the connection between effort and outcome, which enhances compliance and ensures that the practice is effective over time. Motivation, therefore, is not just an emotional state but a driver of the physiological processes that underlie growth, repair, and adaptation. Another essential aspect of mental focus is the management of attention during movement. Exercises, particularly those involving progressive resistance or precise postures, require careful observation of alignment, tension, and breathing. Johnson's success was built on the deliberate, mindful execution of each movement, ensuring that every fiber of the target muscle was recruited and that the stress imposed on joints and connective tissue was controlled and safe. This attention to detail exemplifies the role of cognitive engagement in optimizing mechanical efficiency, reducing risk of injury, and maximizing muscular recruitment. Similarly, seniors benefit from this mindful approach because it enhances neuromuscular coordination, reinforces balance, and creates a feedback loop in which the brain and body communicate more effectively, accelerating adaptation and functional improvement. Motivation and mental focus also influence hormonal and autonomic responses that affect physical adaptation. Positive, goal-oriented states reduce stress hormone levels such as cortisol, which can otherwise impair protein synthesis and tissue repair, while enhancing the release of neurotransmitters and growth-related hormones that facilitate recovery, endurance, and strength. Johnson's disciplined approach demonstrates that the mind is not only a director of effort but also a regulator of the internal environment that supports growth. Finally, cultivating mental focus transforms the perception of challenge itself. Difficult training sessions, rigorous diets, and moments of fatigue become opportunities for reinforcement rather than obstacles. Johnson's mental framework allowed him to reframe discomfort as a necessary stimulus, to view setbacks as data points rather than failures, and to persist even when immediate results were not visible. This mindset, replicated in older adults rebuilding strength, ensures resilience, sustainability, and long-term success, highlighting that physical transformation is inseparable from the cultivation of psychological fortitude and that mental focus and motivation are as vital to growth as nutrition, training, and recovery.